Hey y'all, it's Chrissy from Teadoddles, and it's time for a little sewing tutorial on this Wednesday. First, I'd like to say welcome new subscribers, welcome back subscribers. I'm happy to have you here with me in my maker shenanigans. I do like to do the sewing things, the yarny things, and the DIY things. So if you like to make things, you might like it here. All right, today I am taking this pattern. This is the Liliana box coat from Seamwork. It's a very basic pattern. It has no lining. As you can see, the edges are trimmed with bias tape. I wanted a lining in my arm, in my arms, in my arm, because the sleeves of the coat, we'll get it right in a minute, because this fabric that I'm using has wool in it, and although it'll be nice and cozy if I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt up under it or anything, I don't want that scratching on my arm. So I wanted just a lining for it. Pretty easy to do to make a lining piece. You can just cut out the same size arm piece as you have. I'm just going to go over how I did this flipped up hem, which I did do before I sewed the pieces together. And there's a reason I did that, because I'm planning on, in this picture they show bias tape arms, and I just wanted a finished hem. I am going to use bias tape to finish all my seams so that it'll be nice and clean. I just didn't want to have to deal with making a separate sleeve. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just going to show you how I did that, how I made this piece just like this. It's super easy. So here we go. First thing I did was cut out a lining piece the same size as my front piece. Okay, I have my other two pieces here, just like this. This does have a front and back to it. One side is slightly more textured, and I want that to the outside. Make sure that your sleeve piece is turned the right way. And I say that because I accidentally had mine turned the wrong way last time I did this. All right, so you can see it's the same size. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an inch off the end of this. And then I'm simply going to sew the edges together. So I'm going to take this right here, line it up on my table, like so. Now, something to note, this is just a polyester lining, which is very slippery. I try to be more gentle when I lay down my measuring tools when I'm using something like this, so that I don't get it too misaligned. Then I'll just take my rotary cutter and trim off that. I'm taking off a whole inch because that's typical, inch, inch and a half for whatever the hem is on a shirt. I would take off, since I'm going to put a seam on this, I'm going to do about a 1/4 inch seam when I sew it to the other piece. So I took off an inch because 1 1/4 inches would have been my hem line, and that's how I decided what to cut off. Okay, I just didn't want the excess on there. So now I'm going to take my other piece, making sure again that I have these facing the correct way. I can kind of tell by my notches too. And all I'm going to do is lay these right sides together. This lining doesn't really have a right side as far as I can tell. So what you're going to notice is that your lining is going to be slightly longer because everything's at an angle than your outside piece. And all you have to do, I can get this to lay straight, I just kind of even it up. If you want to mark the centers and match up the centers, you can do that. I just kind of eyeball it. As you can see, we have a little bit of overhang, which I'm going to trim up once I get these sewn together. And like I said, I'm just going to go along this with a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, I've got my 1/4 inch seam sewn. As you can see, that makes this shorter than the rest of it. I'm going to flip this over like so. This back. I'm going to go ahead and line up my top edges. Okay, now I have all my top edges done and aligned. All I have to do is pull this down and iron it, and I have a finished hem for my sleeve. Now, this is I got some stitches coming out. I'll get them in a minute. This is just an easy way to finish that when you have a lining in a coat jacket, depending on how you're going to handle the rest of it. Now, if you had a full lining, I would just sew the full lining and then add it to my coat. But this is something that I can do to finish this up and not have to put bias binding on the edge of this and still have my lining pieces. So, and then once I get this ironed, it'll look just like this. And you can go ahead and top stitch it if you would like. I'm not putting top stitching on this. But next week I will show y'all how I join this, and well, I'll show you how I put bias tape on the seams and finish up this edge. So I hope y'all found this useful. This is a really short video, but something super easy to do to go ahead and finish your sleeve hems when you have lining in a garment. All right, I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.